Hi everybody, welcome to week 7, module 7. This is your last week of new content. In week 8, you will be writing a final case analysis as your final for the class. So this week we're looking at the organizational level of study. And so again, we're trying to predict, explain, and influence behavior in organizations. Organizational change is a constant today, so you need to be able to figure out or understand the organizational change process, things that might get in the way, approaches that might make you more successful. Oftentimes, organizational culture is part of the organization that needs to be changed to match the strategy and what you're trying to accomplish. A famous quote by Peter Drucker: "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." So if your culture does not support your strategy, the culture is going to win. So we've got 2 different chapters. We talked about structure in the MBA Essentials class, so that's not going to be a focus of this module, but instead we're going to focus on culture and change. And the last journal, which is really looking at servant leadership. So all of the journals you've done up to this point and the characteristics have been aspects of servant leadership. So this is kind of an overall view of servant leadership and where you think you fall in that category of leader. First, we're going to have you give examples of organizational culture. So organizational culture is the underlying values, assumptions, shared values in an organization of any kind. You can't always see a shared value or a shared assumption. What you can see are the physical manifestations, or what we call the artifacts. So the physical structures, the language, what kind of ceremonies we hold, the rituals we value, the stories we tell about our organization, give an indication to new people and outsiders and insiders what we really value. So for this discussion board, identify and describe an organization and then tell us about the culture. Describe some of the artifacts and then the values and assumptions that are part of that culture. So here's an old example from David Letterman. Of course, it's an exaggeration, comparing the culture of GE and what David Letterman says is his show. Your written assignment this week is going to focus on organizational change and a force field analysis. So this is a process you might go through when you're trying to plan a new change, basically figuring out what are the forces pushing for the change, what are the forces pushing against the change, and where you are right now is the equilibrium point, and you're trying to change the current state to whatever your desired change is. So I have a file here that has a force field analysis on it. You don't have to use this file. Sometimes the formatting gets messed up. But basically, first of all, identify a change you would like to see, and then create your own force field analysis, or just somewhere identify the driving forces and the restraining forces. And then 3, what will be your strategy for shifting the equilibrium point? What specific restraining forces will you try to reduce, or what specific driving forces will you increase? Who will resist? You can be sure someone's going to resist any change, and why, and how will you handle that? So that's your last written assignment, and then your final journal assignment: serve others before self. So at the beginning of the module, you had some materials on servant leadership. Are you a servant leader? Choose 3 of the topics or characteristics you've written about already and provide examples to support your response, yes or no, or along the continuum, where are you? Do you have experience working for a servant leader? And would you like to become more? Why or why not? How can you develop further? So there might be times when you think servant leadership is not appropriate, or in your setting it might be appropriate a lot of the time. So let me know if you have any questions. Have a good week.